I'm speaking to you from Provincetown, Massachusetts, famous for its light. That's us at the tip of Cape Cod, surrounded by a shimmering ocean. This reflected light from this ocean makes everything look good and everyone feel good. When storms come in from offshore, even then, the light is remarkably luminous. Tonight, I'd like to encourage you to think about an aspect of light you might have overlooked, the quality of light, the kind of light that makes you thrive. Historically, humans lived and worked in a natural cycle dictated by the course of the sun. But in modern era, we have decoupled our working lives from light. So, why does this matter? Why should you care? Perhaps an answer can be found in the study of art. Provincetown has a long and storied art history connected to light. At the 19th century, artists streamed to Provincetown to enjoy this glorious light and the bounty of marine subjects, perfect for painting. By 1916, the migration of artists here was so pronounced that the Boston Globe proclaimed Provincetown the world's largest art colony. They used, at the time, a new technique called Impressionism, which, as you probably all know, is painting not the color of the object, but the color of the object suffused in light. And Provincetown, boy, it had light for that. So important American artists like Charles Hawthorne, and later on Hans Hofmann, Helen Frankenthaler, and many others were inspired by Provincetown light. And Provincetown still remains today the longest continuously operating art colony in this entire United States. And that light, which made it all happen, still has something to teach us, even if you aren't an artist. If you've ever been on a photo shoot, you've probably noticed conspicuous use of something photographers call bounce. That's reflected light off of shiny or reflective surfaces that is literally bounced into the subject. This bounce light is very similar to that rather large, gigantic light pan that we have surrounding this narrow spit of sand we call Cape Cod. In the glorious days of summer, these artists who came to Provincetown had this bounty of bounce light, and working outdoors was wonderful. But what to do when the winter winds of New England blew cold and fierce? Well, the solution was to build studios. They built studios with large windows facing the north. Why the north? Because that's how you harvest that natural bounce light that doesn't change through the course of the day. But Northlight Studios have a much longer history. They go back even as far as the Renaissance, when artists made a Zen-like search for beauty. And Cézanne had his gorgeous 19th century Northlight Studio facing Mont Sainte-Victoire. And pre-modern art school classrooms utilized the practical but also economical illumination that Northlight provided large spaces. However, as the art world adapted to new technologies and new methods, this natural green practice became something of a forgotten relic. Art making moved away from observation, and artists let go of this nostalgic and by now seemingly antiquated concept of the gracious Northlight Studio. But in so doing, unintentionally, artists also denatured their working relationship with light. Unfortunately, so did the rest of us. Here's the thing. You can think of artists kind of like weather vanes for society. They point in the direction things are going. And I also kind of think of them as standing outside of the mainstream so they can try new things. They become like the cultural petri dishes of society, if you were. They're incubating the cures, but also sometimes the challenges of the future. And artists turning away from natural light actually foreshadowed a general direction in our culture of moving towards artificial light and computer screens and handheld devices. Today, the workforce has spent most of their lives staring at cathode ray screens, fluorescent displays, and LED monitors. That's a lot of artificial light projected at your eyes. Here's a little science to back up some of that art speculation. Everybody's familiar with the fact that we have two receptors in our eyes called rods and cones. These receptors take the images we see and pipe them directly back to our visual cortex, allowing us to orient ourselves in space. We see where we are. What is less understood is that recently, in 2001, it was discovered that we also have a third receptor, which takes light to another place, which allows us, in our brain of course, which allows us to orient ourselves in time. They discovered that we have light connectors to our hypothalamus. The hypothalamus regulates just about every function of our bodies: appetite and weight, body temperature, childbirth, emotions, behavior, memory, growth, production of breast milk, salt and water balance in our bodies, sex drive, sleep-wake cycle, and body clock. Force feeding your hypothalamus light is like jamming a stick in the gears of your body's essential machinery. Last year, the Nobel Prize in Medicine went for discovering that the circadian rhythms that we've always just associated with our sleep cycle actually affect our entire day, that we respond to different spectra of light throughout the day, which regulates our entire body and life. So how does that work? Well, blue light, which our body reads as morning light, triggers a rise in metabolism, increased coordination, we're ready for the day. Yellow light, which our body reads as evening light, causes our bodies to increase our body temperature and secrete melatonin, preparing us for sleep. Now, clearly, I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a scientist. I'm an artist. And what I have is 40 years of professional artistic observation. And what I see points to a strong connection between the quality of light, creativity, and well-being. Based on these insights, in the winter of 2015, I created a crowdfunding campaign to build my own Northlight Studio. I sought for myself the benefits of working and creating and living in natural light. In a moment of inspiration, I entitled the project The Room of Light. Step inside the studio and the world changes. Lit naturally by north-facing windows and northward skylights, the studio is a portal to another level of perception. As a sculptor, I too, like photographers, rely on bounced light, and I draw that light from these natural Northlight windows. direct light, like, say, these harsh artificial lights or southern exposures, flattens details, but soft north light enhances details and allows me to see subtle variations in surface. I also built this space to be shared with others as a studio school, to let other artists and other art students create and learn in natural light. Everyone who has come here to work attests to the same thing, that they feel inspired, calm, energized. Maybe using natural light can provide us with a palpable way to improve not just our work lives, but also maybe to work better longer. My father, who will soon be turning 90, paints only with the natural light coming in from his windows, never turns on a light bulb. People who see his painting remark on its luminance, but also on the calm and serenity that emanates from the work, just as it does from the man. Perhaps working with natural light can provide a sustainable paradigm for the 21st century. So please, try to renature the light in your lives. If you don't have natural light in your workspace, spend a few moments a day outside. Maybe take a morning walk before work. At least lift your face from your phone once in a while. Regard the day, because natural light is not just a vital part of art. It is a vital part of life. Thank you.